As humans, we are all susceptible to status anxiety. Now, what exactly is status anxiety, you might ask? Status anxiety is the resulting behavior when we compare our existing status, so the status that we have as of right now, to the status of other people. And oftentimes, it is the status of people who are within your immediate surroundings, your friend circle, the people you meet and see on an everyday basis. And through this comparison, which is both good and bad, you feel anxious. Because as humans, we all strive to improve our worth, our social standing, and our social status, because we organize ourselves in the form of a hierarchy. The most capable and the people with the most amount of merit sit at the very top, or so. That is what we think how hierarchies are organized. More and more people are becoming anxious about the status that they have as of today. And it could come from a bunch of different sources. A potential source that status anxiety might arise from is social media. As tech becomes more advanced by the minute, the distance we have between other people in the world becomes greatly shortened. It's easier to access and take a look at the lives of people on the internet, strangers whom you've never met, and also people who are ultra rich, ultra wealthy, and through the fabricated social media profiles that are again fabricated social media profiles, the videos that they post, the images that they post of themselves online, you start to wonder, why is there such a big gap between me and all these people? And oftentimes we forget that all of this is, in fact, fabricated. And oftentimes, people are just made different. Some are born into a wealthier family, some are born into a less wealthy family, and oftentimes, those who weren't born with a silver spoon in their mouth have to just work harder. But it's just this visibility into the lives of other people that triggers status anxiety in a lot of us. Another source also comes from work, career, or the success game that people want to play. And in these games, status, again, is a very important factor, because in a organization, you are still organized by rank, and oftentimes promotion is the only way up for most people. Most corporates instill the up or out type of mentality when it comes to human resource decisions on employees. It's either you get promoted or you're out. Most companies won't allow for someone to sit in the same role for an extended period of time. And because of this, everyone is just focused on getting a promotion, despite the fact that perhaps the role that you will become promoted into perhaps is not the best role for you. And perhaps once you do get the role, the amount of work that gets appended to your list of things to do is not really worth the promotion that you've been dreaming of. there are a lot of different factors that we need to take into account, because it shouldn't be a zero-sum game. It, to be frank, it shouldn't be an up or out type of scenario. And just want people to understand this more, and take a bet on themselves. And in the case that we aren't able to get what we want at work, then perhaps it's time for us to shift our focus into doing something else. And I'll get into that later on. But within a corporate setting, pay is another thing that people will use to compare themselves against others. And oftentimes, once knowing the salary of other people, and if there's a big displacement between what they make and what you make, oftentimes there's definitely going to be anxiety, especially if it's someone doing the same work that you're doing. And the easiest way, and exposure would be another thing. If someone gets more attention, because that's also a currency on its own, if they're getting more of that, then that social comparison mindset again will pop up, and status anxiety will again arise. And that's work. Dating is definitely another one, that a different type of activity that will trigger status anxiety. You, in the case that you don't have a mate or don't have a partner, the easiest way, but not the most effective way, well, the easiest way for you to get a look to take a look of your potential options around you would be through a dating app. Unfortunately, nowadays nowadays, especially for younger kids, that's the norm. There's very little actual meeting up happening in person. And for dating, another thing would be that these apps are meant to keep you on. It's meant to suck your attention, your money, so that the algorithm prioritizes you and exposes you or your profile to as many people as possible. But at the same time, the commonality between what dating apps are doing and what social media is doing is closing the social distance between people who are very, very different. And up until recent years, this has never happened before. Back in, let's say, before the year 2000, we didn't have any of this. And you dated people who were in your immediate circle. And that's how people met, and that's how families were built. But nowadays, with dating apps being the predominant medium for us to meet a potential mate, the sheer volume of people that were shown on a daily basis makes us think that all these options are available options, when in fact it's really not. People are wired in many, many different ways with different traits, different social sexuality levels, which means how frequent you would need sex, and how much novelty would you need to feel satisfied as a human being. So we variate in all these different ways, but on an app you don't see any of that. And essentially this would be a game of finding people who match your prerequisites, the traits that you're looking for in a mate, what type of relationship you're looking at. There's a bunch of mismatches that the app does not take into account, and people normally do not think about. So all this added complexity and also the sheer amount of options that you get presented, it creates a lot of anxiety. And oftentimes it makes people think that, am I just really that unwanted? Am I that unattractive? And that's also another source of status anxiety. So when presented with a lot of this status anxiety, what exactly do people do to resolve this feeling of discomfort? You may feel really agitated, you have a lower level of confidence, a lower level of self-esteem, and you start to hear a lot more negative self-talk coming from within. And with that, if someone were to have a lower level of self-control or impulse control, this can often lead to unregulated consumption and impulse purchases used as strategies to resolve this level of discomfort. This may be the food that you're eating, the random stuff that you're buying, because every time you buy, you feel like you're solving a problem and it brings you fleeting joy. And people do resort to this cycle of fleeting joy as a resolution for that discomfort that status anxiety might bring up. And of course, you'll give in to your guilty pleasures, whatever that may be for people, to seek a solution for a problem that is very, very much internal. So, what other more effective and long lasting strategies can we employ to resolve this discomfort that is brought forth by status anxiety? The first thing to do is for us to recognize the reasons behind why we feel such a way. And a lot of these things are out of our control. With the advancement in technology and with us being ultra confident that we have everything under control, a lot of times we are not made for all these advanced apps and expedited ways to achieve status and to find the right job for you that's fulfilling and the right person who is for you. But there comes the second thing for us to do. We need to have the discipline to remind ourselves that we can still control and resolve this discomfort in a way that will not exacerbate the problem at hand. And that is to look inwards, as status anxiety is an internal problem. And with internal problems, we have to solve it internally, not externally. Internal problems do not get resolved through external measures. And those measures are the measures that I talked about earlier in consumption, conspicuous consumption, impulse purchases, and giving into your guilty pleasures. And once in a while, it's definitely okay. But once it becomes a habit, a coping mechanism, whenever status anxiety arises, then we have to assess whether this should be the behavioral pattern that we allow to happen again and again. And perhaps, and this is also something that I struggle with every single day, work, the social media part. I deleted most social media apps that people use to take back my attention and to also reduce status anxiety. That's also something you can do if you're looking to resolve that discomfort. Learning something new is learning something that you've always wanted to learn. At first, it might be pretty difficult, but once you persevere and when you actually build something out using that skill or that thing that you learned, you will gain a lot of fulfillment. And that's also what I've been doing through reading or doing these videos, or even learning how to better navigate AI agents. That's what's giving me more motivation to keep going and combat status anxiety, because this is a issue and a phenomenon that we all have to endure in order to become a better version of ourselves. Once our subconscious realizes that we're doing something and we're building something, it's tangible in whatever way, shape, or form, and we are becoming more competent, you will definitely feel a lot more confidence in yourself. And I'll see you in the next one.